Twitter's live. All right, guys, we're going to get started here. We're just getting the streams active. If you're generally watching on LinkedIn, you may want to hop over to YouTube to watch. In fact, I should put that message on LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn live by chance, J-Dubs?
I'm showing an error for LinkedIn. That's what I was getting for the earlier show.
Okay, let me put a message on there. Hey. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. We were off yesterday, so we got a lot to cover, including more color on that Cavalier Crossing deal that I want to offer you, the viewer and listener. We're also going to talk. This was a bit of news sent to me by the Fixer. The Fixer offered some perspective that we should cover on Bert Ellis, Razorblade Ellis, the Board of Visitors. He may have just secured his first victory. UVA tour guides, the student-led tour guides, are suspended. The UVA administration has suspended the admissions tours led by students and the UVA tour guide service. Is this Razorblade Ellis's first victory, or was Razorblade Ellis's first victory what happened with the new protest rules and regulations that were put into play? We'll talk about that today on the I Love CVille show. I also want to highlight the Henley Middle School principal. One child abuse charge was dropped. There's still one pending, right, Judah?
It's a slightly different charge.
The alleged circumstances, and it's difficult to understand what is true or not in this situation, in particular because there's very little proof or evidence, and there's also a juvenile involved. But the juvenile is alleging that the Henley Middle School principal pinned him against the wall and then grabbed for 15 seconds his genitals to punish him in squeezing, aggressive, clamp fashion. I want to talk about this on the program. A lot we're going to cover today. Give the show a like and a share. Anywhere you are watching, we will rock and roll when Judah says we are ready to go. I'm seeing it live on Twitter, live on YouTube, Judah, across Facebook. We're not live on LinkedIn today, and we apologize. We'll see if we can troubleshoot that. Judah, we can start the program, my friend, when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Good Thursday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. It's great to connect with you through the I Love CVille network. We were off air yesterday, and we were off air yesterday in unexpected fashion. I'll offer some insight into our morning yesterday, my wife and I, and our family. We have two wonderful boys. We have a first grader and we have a 20-month-old. Our 20-month-old is joyous. He's full of energy like his big brother. He is 1,000 miles an hour. He's tough because, frankly, he gets beat up by his 6-year-old brother, or roughed up, I should say, by his 6-year-old brother. He is loving and kind. He enjoys cuddling. He has a temper. He's let us know that he's strong-willed and stubborn, I would say, much like his parents, strong-willed and stubborn. He also had a clogged tear duct on his left eye. We noticed for much of his 20 months in change on Earth, under our care, that his left eye would consistently water. And we were wondering, what's going on? Why does his left eye constantly seem like he's crying and only on that eye when he otherwise is laughing and having a great time? So we went to an eye doctor first, and the eye doctor did in fact confirm there was a tear duct clogged. Then we went to the UVA Children's Hospital, the Children's Hospital over on West Main Street, the corner of West Main in, I guess that's what, Jefferson Park Avenue? Right across from Farm Bell Kitchen, right next door to the Draftsman Hotel. And we first arrived at 9 a.m. yesterday for what is roughly about a 10 or 15 minute surgery. Now, when you are prepping for surgery, there's requirements of you prior to the surgical procedure. And for a 20-month-old baby entering toddler phase, he had to not have any food or drink for more than 12 hours. So our little boy goes to bed on 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. And he did not have any food until 1 p.m. the next day because we had to arrive at the hospital at 9 a.m. So this little tyke, 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday night, wakes up starving, unable to eat. My wife and I get there at 9. Anytime your 20-month-old goes under anesthesia and has to basically be whisked away from you, carted away from you by doctors and nurses into a surgical room, into an emergency room, into an operating room, both parents are going to be there. And we were both there. One of the most vulnerable moments, I would say, of my wife's life, in my life, seeing a 20-month-old taken away by doctors and nurses out of your eyesight, out of your care, and into an operating room while wearing, what's it called, a gown, a hospital gown, Judah, a 20-month-old's hospital gown. He goes under anesthesia, and he has the tear duct unclogged by a fantastic UVA doctor. As we're waiting in the waiting room, my wife and I, for the doctor or someone to give us an update of what is going on, we are just nervous Nellies. How's our boy? Is he okay? And this is a routine surgery. Doctor comes out to the waiting room and he says, everything went according to plan. Your little boy is fine. He also warned us when he comes out of the operating room and into your care, he's going to be waking up from anesthesia and he's going to be as mad as a stirred hornet on a hot Charlottesville summer afternoon. We go into the hospital room as he gets released from the operating room. 2 nurses are there, and we see our 27-pound, 20-month-old about as angry as you can ever see a human being. And a 20-month-old, how he or she, or at least this particular little boy, gets angry, screaming at the top of his lungs, flailing and throwing his body across the room in suicidal fashion, and just unrecognizable in personality or mood for his parents. We saw what is normally an even-keeled 20-month-old acting like someone who was, possessed by potentially Lucifer himself. So we eventually, after he calms down, after the anesthesia wears off, we're able to get some grape, icy pops into him, calms his mood, and we're able to get released from the hospital. The experience with UVA, they were incredibly caring. The nurses, the admission staff, the doctors. The entire procedure in totality, $11,000, with some family health insurance that is basically, as a self-employed individual, catastrophic health insurance. That number whittled down to $3,800, $3,900. So we're like, look, we got to do it. We got to do what's best for our guy. We leave the hospital. We get some Lucky Charms into him. We get some Goldfish into him, some Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, and now he is back to his normal self after sleeping for 14 hours and basically eating our house, eating our kitchen of every snack possibly available. I'll close with this. Seeing your son or daughter, especially one that's 20 months old, in a hospital gown with IVs in his arm, injected with anesthesia, and knowing that he's going to be asleep without us around him and having surgery done was one of the most vulnerable feelings I've ever felt personally. You want to take the pain away and the experience away, and you want to put it on your shoulders. You want to help your wife and protect your wife and shelter your wife, because she's as scared as you've ever seen her. She is emotional, and you want to take that away from her. And really, you can do nothing about it. You're just left waiting. And you put your faith in a higher power. You put your faith in the staff at the UVA Children's Hospital, and you hope, you pray that everything goes according to plan, to God's plan, and fortunately, yesterday it did. What we anticipated being an experience that was going to be 90 minutes or under turned from 9 a.m. to 1:20 p.m., 1:30 p.m. yesterday. And I'll tell you what, it was one I won't forget and one I wish on no one else, although the results were, in the end, quite positive. I want to thank the Children's Hospital for helping our little boy, my wife, a rock yet again, and to our 20-month-old, God, I love him, and I love his big brother, too. I want to thank Pro Renata and Mexicali for being a part of the show. Pro Renata in Crozet, downtown Stanton, and the Shenandoah Valley. They're hiring, they're expanding, they're brewing their own beer. They have the new brewmaster from Basic City now working at Pro Renata. John Shabe and his team, incredible things happening with that beer brand. And Mexicali on West Main Street. If you have yet to try Johnny Ornelas and River Hawkins' latest restaurant iteration, Mexicali, on West Main Street, you're missing something that is absolutely dynamic. Food, drink, ambiance, cocktail, just it's out of this world, guys. One of the best restaurant experiences, genuinely, in the Charlottesville metro area. I want to welcome Judah Wickhauer, director and producer of the show. I like to call him the Elmer's glue of the team. He somehow got peer pressured by yours truly into a Lewis Mountain bet that we put an over-under of 9 units by close of business 2024 that will come on between this week and the end of the year. I credited one of the units that already came on the market, Thompson Road, to that 9-unit count. So, Judah, you need, 9 more to come on the market between now and the end of the year to win a bottle of brown juice from yours truly. If 8 or less come on the market between now and the end of the year, I win the bottle of brown juice from you. We capped it at 50 or 75 a bottle?
Something like that.
No plastic bottles, no Aristocrat, no Jim Beam, please. All right, a lot we want to cover. We're going to start with news from the grounds of the University of Virginia that could be Razorblade Burt Ellis's, the co-founder of the Jefferson Council and a key member, maybe the most outspoken member of the UVA Board of Visitors. This could be Burt Ellis's first victory, ladies and gentlemen. The University of Virginia administration has suspended tours, the admissions tours, the parent tours, the tours for high school students and their parents that are thinking about going to the University of Virginia. These tours have been suspended. The University Guide Service no longer is able to offer tours, admissions tours, historical tours, location tours, landmark tours of any kind.
Yeah.
The University of Virginia issued a statement yesterday about this. The student-led University Guide Service now suspended. The tours in the future are going to be offered by student employees of the admissions office. Currently, the University Guide Service, the group, is similar to the University Judiciary Committee or the Honor Committee. They are independent committees that are trusted to act as agents of the university, but they are not tied directly to the university. The administration of the university said these independent agents, the University Guide Service, you guys can't do your sole mission of giving tours to prospective students or parents anymore. And it was rooted, this decision was rooted in the content that was being presented at these admissions tours by University Guide Service students.
Yeah.
The Jefferson Council has said on multiple occasions that the University Guide Service is marginalizing, stigmatizing founder Thomas Jefferson and weaving political, liberal-minded rhetoric into the admissions tours offered to prospective students and their parents. They are painting, the Jefferson Council has said, it has been confirmed by others, Thomas Jefferson as a racist, as a rapist, as a slaveholder, and as someone that is a horrible representation of the University of Virginia. Burt Ellis and his lobbying group, the Jefferson Council, one of its missions is to return Thomas Jefferson's reputation and make sure it's at the forefront of the University of Virginia brand and image. Is this Burt Ellis's first victory on the Board of Visitors? Judah B. Wickower.
Do we not consider driving across state lines with a razor blade in your car a victory?
I was hoping you were going to say this. This is the same man who drove from Georgia with a razor blade in his vehicle across state lines to razor blade a sign that he disagreed with off the lawn front door of a student.
We don't know that he didn't buy the razor blade once he got to Virginia.
We do know that he took a razor blade to the lawn and he razor blade a protest sign off the front door of a student's abode on the lawn.
Did he actually do it? I thought.
Oh, he did it.
I thought he was stopped.
He absolutely he did it.
Wow.
He did it. He did it.
Oh,
Is this his first victory?
Yeah, probably. I mean, this is his first big public victory, I would say.
As you put the lower thirds on screen, there's 3 that we can rotate through. Is it his first victory, or was Razorblade Burt Ellis's first victory on the Board of Visitors, the news that was announced earlier this week and covered on the I Love Seville show when the UVA updated policies on protest on grounds? Now
I don't know if that's a win.
Why don't you think that's a win for Burt Ellis? That's a win for Burt, for Razorblade Ellis.
You mean he may consider it a win?
I would say Razorblade Ellis would consider this a victory. The fact that you now cannot sleep on grounds overnight. You cannot use a tent on grounds. And if you're going to protest, there are hours where you are allowed to protest and hours where you are not allowed to protest. They basically said, hey, you can protest sun up to sundown. But when it's time to get some Z's and when it's time to call the Sandman, you better not be sleeping on the grounds outside, and you better not use a tent. And if we find you doing that, you're going to get in some serious trouble. Is that not Razorblade Burt Ellis's first victory? He's pretty much diminished the right to protest, the right of freedom of speech on grounds, because he didn't like what he saw in May with the pro-Palestine pepper spraying protest.
I don't know if I'd call it a victory. It seems heavy-handed. It seems pushed through pretty quickly. It's got a lot of the faculty at UVA up in arms. It may be a victory in his mind and some people's minds, but I think it was poorly done. And
I think it's a victory in Mr. Ellis's mind.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
probably.
Remember,
I don't know, but go ahead.
we have to unpack this. Remember, now the Board of Visitors under majority Glenn Youngkin influence. This summer, In fact, it was earlier this month, ladies and gentlemen, earlier this month, Youngkin appointees, more of them on the Board of Visitors, in cahoots or along the same ideology as Mr. Ellis. Now with majority control on the Board of Visitors, are we seeing the men and women that truly run the University of Virginia, the men and women that Jim Ryan answered to, flexing their muscles? The protest rules and regulations have changed this month. And now this month, the University Guide Service, the student-led organization, has been suspended, and future tours will be given to employees of the admissions office, student employees of the admissions office, that will be held to a different level of accountability, that will most certainly require them to toe the company line.
Yeah.
You have two big-time changes here, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of a board now totally under Youngkin's influence. Which more impactful or which more deserving of top billing or above the fold storyline on the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show?
Is that a question? Well,
that is a question.
Which,
what do you mean? Which?
I didn't follow you. You said which more?
Which is most deserving of the top storyline or billing? Of course, that's a question. It started with which.
I would say that the Guides is the better story.
The Guides is a serious story. I agree. Finish your thought. I agree with you here.
I don't know. There's quoted as the Guide Service inserting radical views and inflammatory opinions into its tours. I don't have any context for that because I haven't heard what they have to say, but they essentially work for UVA, whether or not it's a UVA-run organization. And if they're speaking ill about Thomas Jefferson, and I understand the desire to what they call contextualizing Mr. Jefferson. I understand the desire to put him in the context of history, but I think that it's a very sensitive issue, and I'm 100% on board with the university saying, look, we want a little more say in what you are saying about our university and our founder. And so I think it's probably a wise choice. I'm not so sure about the other pushing through of the changing policy.
UVA faculty pushing back on the protest changes. UVA faculty going on record saying the protest changes and the new rules and regulations that are pretty much handcuffing or capping freedom of speech on grounds at Thomas Jefferson University are some said gross, some said diminishing the rights of students, some said no place here at UVA.
Yeah.
What we're seeing, though, is the Board of Visitors have an early influence and impact now that Youngkin's men and women are calling the shots. And I think if this is an indicator, a proof of performance, more changes will be coming. I'm very curious to see what the Board of Visitors does next. Suspending the University Guide Service, ladies and gentlemen, this is often the first expression, the first touch point that prospective students and their parents have with the University of Virginia outside of some research online or some U.S. News and World Report rankings. I remember going through the Guide Service while a junior in high school with my parents. We made the trip from Williamsburg, Virginia, up 64. My brother, who was a sophomore in high school, me as a junior, my mom and dad. We signed up for a tour at the admissions office. We walked through grounds with the UVA Guide Service. Me as a 17-year-old, my brother is a 16-year-old. And ladies and gentlemen, the extent when I was in high school, before going to UVA, my brother went to UVA, I went to UVA, my dad went to UVA. Before going to UVA in high school, the tour, all it consisted of was pointing out various locations on grounds. It had no political rhetoric. It had no mention of Thomas Jefferson in any demeaning fashion. All it was a pretty much landmark tour of grounds. Now the tour is one that is very much politically centered. I got this text from the Fixer, who watches the show, and sent me this information. He said, "My family did this tour last year. We had a moment of silence for the Monacan indigenous people, and then at the end for the enslaved laborers. Both were worthy of recognition and remembrance, but not ideal when you're trying to get the Millers from New Jersey to spend $320,000 to send their daughter there."
Yeah.
He also says telling the complex history of UVA should not be left to a 20-year-old guide. And I 1,000% agree with those texts.
I think it can be, but obviously you have to be careful what they're saying, and it's a narrative that obviously UVA is going to want to have their thumb on.
This will be a topic that hits the legacy news cycle. And it's a very good one. And it very well could be Burt Ellis's first victory. And somewhere Burt Ellis is rubbing his hands together and saying, we got the protest rules changed and the UVA guide service suspended. What can I do next?
Oh, man.
That's what he's thinking right now. Next topic, Judah Wickower. Give us the headline. Let the viewers and listeners know what the next couple topics are going to be. Oh, we have a 3-pack of headlines on this storyline. Give us the 3-pack of headlines here for the next topics, Judah.
Let's see. More analysis, $20.5 million Cavalier Crossing deal. We've got will more local apartment complexes be sold? And social, political, and economic fallout of the deal.
So, Cavalier Crossing, Albemarle County, just over the city line in the Fry Springs neighborhood, right off of Old Lynchburg Road, 520 total bedrooms. There are 144 3- and 4-bedroom apartments, 520 total. We have an out-of-market owner out of Arlington who now owns this apartment complex called Cavalier Crossing. They paid $20,500,000 for the apartments. The apartments averaged about $560 a bedroom. They're the type of apartments where bedrooms are rented as opposed to apartments being rented. You can share a common area, a kitchen, and a living room with with strangers as you rent strictly a bedroom with a door lock on your bedroom. The concept is this. We're going to spend $20,500,000. We're going to put lipstick on the pig. We're going to improve the amenities. We're going to improve the finishes. We're going to put some stainless. We're going to repaint them. We'll rebrand them. We'll reposition them. We'll give them a nice little swimming pool. Maybe we'll put some bocce courts in there and a pickleball court and improve the gyms. And we're going to try to 2x or 3x the rents. And that's how we're going to make money. The company that made the purchase out of Northern Virginia straight up said in their statement when buying this deal out of Alexandria, I said Arlington, out of Alexandria, they straight up said this is a inventory strapped market, housing-wise, and it's a market that is booming in popularity, booming in population, and incredibly impacted by the University of Virginia and the fact that there's no housing. It's Bonaventure Multifamily Income Trust, the company who purchased Cavalier Crossing in May for $20,500,000. The previous owner, Pierce Education Properties, bought it in 2017 for $11.2 million. The current owner has $2.3 billion in assets in its portfolio as of November 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw one of the last robust options of affordable housing die. Eagles Landing, perhaps the last one left in Albemarle County and in the Charlottesville area. Judah Wickhauer, I'm going to ask you these questions. Will other apartment complexes be purchased in similar fashion, buy low, improve, re-rent, 2 to 3x, higher rents? I'm going to ask you the social, the political, and the economic fallout of this acquisition. I can't wait to offer commentary on this. Anywhere you want to go on these topics?
Oh man, I'm sure there will be more that are sold. You'd have to take a look. We'd have to take a look, obviously, at what some of these places were bought at. I mean, the company that sold the Cavalier Crossing obviously made a good deal. They what? How much did they made? What, $3 million?
11.2 million versus 20.5 million.
Yeah, they almost doubled their money.
$9,300,000. You want me to jump in?
It's pretty good for what?
I'd say that's fantastic.
Six or 7
2017
years?
to 2024, I'd say that's fantastic. We don't know what they put into it, but I'd say that's fantastic.
Right.
More commentary, you want me to jump in?
I can definitely see more companies coming in to do this, but I don't think they're gonna. It's not going to be as big a deal, and will have less of an effect because there aren't, as you said, this is one of the last affordable housing rental units around, and so anything else is just not going to be as large a shift as this is clearly going to be.
All right, I'm going to offer some color and some perspective. The first property I ever owned in Albemarle County, I was in my mid-20s. It's currently a rental. It has no debt. It rents for a little over $2,000 a month. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condominium in the Villas at Southern Ridge. That is off Old Lynchburg Road, in spitting distance of Cavalier Crossing, the Villas at Southern Ridge condo complex. This condo complex used to be called Country Green Apartments. Country Green Apartments across from Jim Shank's Barbershop in the trailer park on Country Green Road. Country Green Apartments were the apartments that you never went to unless you lived there because of fear of crime, because of fear of getting mugged, because of fear of getting robbed. A developer from Virginia Beach by the name of Bart Fry, of Fry Properties, F-R-Y-E, purchased Country Green Apartments. And he had the misfortune, perhaps now fortune, but at the time of misfortune, buying Country Green Apartments right before the 2008 housing crisis. And he said, I'm going to convert Country Green Apartments into condominiums, and I'm going to sell them individually, and I'm going to make a boatload of money. And I'm going to do it in 5 phases. The first phase, which I purchased in, the units are going to be valued at $182,500. That's all I could afford in my mid-20s, $182,500. The second phase is going to be $5,000 more expensive. The third phase, $5,000 more expensive. Fourth phase, add another $5,000. And fifth phase, we'll add an additional $5,000 on that. So if you buy in phase 1, you deal with the remodeling consequences, because there's 4 phases of remodeling that's going to happen, but you do so because you say, I'm going to have potentially $25,000 in equity right off the gate once the 5th phase is finished. And I said, I'm going to buy in phase 1. Well, not only did Bart Fry have bad luck buying in 2008 before the housing crisis, all of us who purchased in phase 1, all of us who purchased in phase 2, and certainly all the people that purchased in phase 4 and 5 had bad luck as well, because values plummeted and the housing market went in the pooper, especially for condominiums. Condominiums do not maintain, in the Charlottesville and Central Virginia market, they do not maintain single-family detached momentum when it comes to equity and value. They just do not. The data backs that up. I've seen it firsthand with this ownership of the Villas at Southern Ridge. Single-family detached homes appreciate much more rapidly than attached product. That's just a fact. Mm-hmm. So, in phase 1, as I'm in my 3-bedroom, 2-bath, newly purchased condo, you would still see the same clientele that patronized Country Green Apartments, because the clientele was a still social norm. Their behavior patterns were still the same. You would see, at all hours of the night, 1 or 2 in the morning, groups of 7, 8, 9, 10 men in the asphalt parking lot of the Villas at Southern Ridge, then Country Green Apartments, drinking Colt 45, Old English, smoking blunts, and listening to music. When you're in your mid-20s and you're purchasing a condo, you don't anticipate or research 2:30 in the morning human behavior. You just say, what's this look like during the sales office from 9 to 5? And from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., it looked like there were pretty flowers over there and a tennis court over there and a nice-looking swimming pool over there, and the gym had sparkling new weights. At 3 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, you don't go over there before you close on the deal. But at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, you got a half a dozen people blasting Dr. Dre, smoking the fattiest blunt you've ever seen while drinking Old English and pounding Colt 45. Happen all the time. Then eventually human behavior starts to change. Owners start coming in. Owners start phasing out the renters. And then next thing you know, it makes the transition from Country Green Apartments to the Villas at Southern Ridge. Now, it's not an apples to apples comparison, the Villas at Southern Ridge, because those were units for purchase. But Bart Fry, because of the housing crisis, was unable to unload his units. So he converted the units he still held to rentals. And now his sales office is a rental office. And he controls the association. Because he has such a lion's share of the property, ownership-wise, he is the top dog who controls the owners association at the Villas at Southern Ridge, still to this day. And because he had the luxury of deep pockets and cash on hand, he was able to hold the units throughout the 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012 housing crisis and said, I'm going to maintain these as rentals and hope the market changes. And today the market has changed, and his units are now renting for $2,000 plus a month, and he's got a boatload of them.
No doubt.
His sales office, a rental office, he controls the association, and he's got a cash cow on his hands. So here's what I saw firsthand as a one-unit owner in the Villas of Southern Ridge, a unit that's now renting for over $2,000 a month. I saw the rebranding of an apartment complex, name-wise, website-wise, signage-wise. I saw landscaping change. I saw amenities change. I saw the gym change. I saw the swimming pool change. I saw the conference room changes. The property management company changes. I saw a reimagined and repositioned apartment complex that was rebirthed as a condo complex. Cavalier Crossing, they're not going to sell the units, they're going to rent them. But I bet you they changed the name. One of the reasons they're going to change the name of the Cavalier Crossing apartment complex that just sold for $20,500,000 is because if you do a little bit of research, you're going to find crime associated with this location. You're going to find Albemarle County Police has been called. You're going to find murders on scene. You're going to find drug dealing. You're going to find arrests being made. And you're going to find not the best of reviews online. First thing they're going to do is they're going to rebrand this apartment complex. They're going to take the leases, notify the tenants that are paying $560 per room on average that their leases are not going to be renewed.
They've already started doing that.
Already started doing that. They're going to do a nice little pool upgrade. Wouldn't be surprised if you see some pickleball courts or a bocce court and some dog parkage. Wouldn't be surprised if the weight room gets improved. You're going to see stainless steel appliances in the units, repainted units, new finishes in the units. And then you're going to see them come to market at a price point that is 2x to 3x the $560 per room. And they're going to get a significant return on investment. And now we have to ask ourselves, what is the social fallout of this deal? What is the political fallout of this deal? And what is the economic fallout of this deal? Well, the social fallout of this deal is this. Activists, lobbying groups, and socialists in the Charlottesville greater metro area are infuriated. And they're infuriated because they're losing the battle against the free market in the indivisible hand of capitalism. They feel government should intervene in some capacity and save the tenants who are now getting jettisoned to vehicles, to the streets, or scrambling for the last few units that are available at Eagles Landing. The reality is, government can do nothing about this. This was one company that sold to another company. And the company that bought the apartment complex has a track record of revitalizing communities and significantly raising rents. The social consequences, a lot of people are going to lose their houses. We empathize for these people. I know you do. I certainly do. Mm-hmm. But this is what happens when you rent. You can terminate your lease when you want to, and the landlord can terminate the lease with proper notice. That's called leasing. You don't own. That's what could happen. And that's what did happen. Social consequences. You're going to have 520-some people scrambling for housing. And unfortunately, whether we want to hear this or not, some of those people are going to add to the homeless count in the Charlottesville area.
Sadly.
They indicated, the tenants interviewed by Charlottesville Tomorrow, that they can't find housing elsewhere because of either credit scores, because of lack of job, or because of minuscule income. So the homeless population is going to increase. Whether you want to admit this or not, the rents at Eagles Landing are going to increase. Because now you got 500 plus people that are going to be scrambling right next door to Eagles Landing looking for housing. And when more demand comes to a already fully occupied or nearly fully occupied apartment complex, those complexes increase in value. And that's what happens to Eagles Landing. Literally happening right now.
Yep.
Economic fallout or consequences. Albemarle County's got a hell of a lot more tax revenue. You're going to have a piece of property that's going to be assessed at a much greater clip. I bet you if we looked at what it was assessed right now, it's not close to $20.5 million, $20,500,000. And after it's revitalized and rebranded and remodeled and repositioned, it's going to be worth and assessed and appraised even more. Mm-hmm. The county gets more tax revenue. The county also gets more tax revenue because the folks that are going to live in Cavalier Crossing, Judah, those folks are going to be deeper pocketed individuals because they're going to be able to afford rents that are 2 or 3x higher than they are right now. And those deeper pocketed individuals will have more spending power in the county. And that spending power translates to meals, coffees, lattes, martinis, wine, cold beers, retail purchases, event experiences, music tickets purchased, dog food purchased, and a portion of those purchases are going to go to the county's tax coffers. Now, one piece that is not being highlighted, the 520 people that lived at Cavalier Crossing, mm-hmm. where your probably average take-home pay was somewhere between maybe $20,000 and $35,000 for these folks. They're spending $560 a month in rent. A lot of these are the hourly employees at frontline businesses like restaurants, coffee shops, back of the house, dishwashers, short order cooks, hosts, ticket punchers, hourly wage workers. Will we lose these hourly wage workers from the employment ecosystem in the greater Charlottesville area? Because if they can't afford to live here, will they continue staying here? And I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that. Can Charlottesville, Virginia, the greater Charlottesville, Virginia area, afford to lose more hourly workers when many of the businesses that are tied to hourly employment say they cannot staff their models to run them efficiently enough? These are the social and economic consequences, the collateral damage of a $20,500,000 deal, pro and con. And I saw a comment from Deep Throat. He made this comment on somewhere. Was this a purchase that should have been made by Habitat for Humanity and Piedmont Housing Alliance instead of the $7 million bridge loan they got for the city to buy the Carlton Mobile Home Park? Habitat for Humanity and Piedmont Housing Alliance are taking a $7 million loan to buy a trailer park, and they've promised the trailer owners that they're not going to do anything for the trailer park for 36 months. They're going to keep it the same. only raised their rents like $5 a month, $15 a month. Then they're going to have to develop the site. And in 36 months, the cost to develop the Carlton Mobile Home Park is going to be astronomical. Way more expensive than $20,500,000 for a 520-unit apartment complex. Did Habitat and Piedmont Housing Alliance, were they better served with their mission of providing equity and affordability to this community, were they better served purchasing a 520-unit apartment complex that already had tenants in play? Or a $7 million mobile home park where they have to keep ramshackle trailers in place for 36 months before they can do anything? That's a question for you, Judah, and the viewers and listeners.
I mean, it's an interesting speculation. I don't know that I don't know that I agree 100%. I think that, first of all, you can't just wait around hoping to maximize your, your effect, maximize your money. I mean, should they have waited?
What do you mean you can't do that? That's what investors do all the time.
This wasn't about investing.
That's literally called being a good investor. Trying to time the market.
Okay, so are we pooling Habitat for Humanity in with normal investors?
Habitat for Humanity and Piedmont Housing Alliance are nonprofit developers. They have every reason to try to time the market, keep cost of goods in check, labor in check, and run the most efficient models possible to create the most amount of units at the cheapest price possible. Because they're using taxpayer dollars to do it, and grants to do it, and donations to do it. If they're not good stewards of taxpayer money or grant money...
That's why I thought they should have bought a small plot of land in Albemarle, put the trailer parks there, put the trailers there, and let the developer do what they want with the place.
How would that have flown? We're going to buy a small plot of Albemarle, 25 miles from the epicenter of employment, and have people that may not have vehicles that rely on public transportation and tell them we're going to jettison you to the outskirts of a vast county and make you ride a 10-speed Huffy to your job in the city?
So you think that what happened was the better outcome?
I think Habitat and Piedmont Housing Alliance buying the Carlton Mobile Home Park was a travesty.
Okay.
Was an absolute travesty. And I think Piedmont Housing Alliance and Habitat for Humanity, if they wanted to make a significant impact on the community, they would have realized saving the masses or providing housing for a larger portion of the population is going to have more impact than providing housing for 36 months for 64 trailers. And that's what they did. 64 trailers, 36 months. We'll give you housing. And we're going to take $7 million from taxpayers to do it.
So would $21 million be a better deal with them buying this place?
$20.5 million.
Well, but they would have to beat that.
You take the $7 million bridge loan you get from the city, you couple it together with another $7 million bridge loan you get from Albemarle County. You got $14 million down, and then you finance the remaining $6,500,000.
But you have to beat. You're going to have to go higher than the
$20,600,000.
Okay.
We heard from on Tuesday someone in commercial real estate that asked not to be named. He said the owners of Cavalier Crossing. I'll relay his exact words to the viewer and listener that came through DM. He said on Tuesday's show that the owners of Cavalier Crossing I'm calling up the DM. Toured every local multifamily player around and asked them about buying Cavalier Crossing. We have to expect or we have to, and yes, it's that dreaded word assume, that Habitat or Piedmont, a multifamily player, one of the key multifamily players, were tapped on the shoulder as a potential buyer of Cavalier Crossing. And if Habitat or Piedmont passed on Cavalier Crossing and instead pursued Carlton Mobile Home Park, that was a mistake. 520 people, Cavalier Crossing, now going to lose their house. 64 mobile homes in Carlton going to keep their house for 36 months before they lose it. What was the better move? And these are the political and social consequences, fallout, or collateral damage of a deal like this. Some people doing it, free market, private market, multi-billion-dollar national company, or a local nonprofit developer. We'll read comments live on air. I'm very excited to go to Deep Throat's commentary on this. He's got good perspective here, good color on this. So the thing that kills me about Cavalier Crossing, it sold for $135,000 a unit. It was affordable. It will not be in the future. A loss of 150 units of affordable housing, naturally occurring affordable housing. Now the CRHA has been doing, Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority has been doing redevelopment of public housing in the city with PHA. And the per unit cost has been more than $500,000 a unit to do the redevelopment. And that is without land because it's already owned by CRHA. Why the duck would we not buy Cavalier Crossing for $135,000 a unit, put $50K a unit into it, and give PHA more potential immediately to create affordable housing? He says, if I were the county or the city, I'd be looking at the vulnerable nature, at the vulnerable, naturally occurring affordable housing and trying to buy it, in preference to having our incompetent local nonprofits redevelop super inefficiently or ineffectively at mobile home parks. And he says another way to look at this is through the lens of zoning and why upzoning doesn't help with affordable housing. Cheap housing equals depreciated housing. The old stuff like Cavalier Crossing. What happens with rezoning? Structure values go down, land values go up. The older housing becomes a prime target for redevelopment. That takes out the more affordable housing and increases supply of higher tier housing. So maybe prices come down at the upper tier, but the availability of cheaper housing evaporates. That is what we've been saying all along on this talk show. Mm-hmm. For years, we have been saying and ringing that bell on this talk show. The opportunistic nature of the land upside.
Yeah.
He also pushes back a little bit on you. What does Judah mean weighted? Habitat did not have any money. It was the city's money. And you mentioned Tuesday that Cav Crossing owners were shopping this around to everybody. How did PHA and Habitat not know? Bingo.
It's a good question.
I will, if you want to take it, make another bet.
Oh, good
I will
grief.
bet you that Sunshine of Piedmont Housing Alliance and Dan Rosenzweig of Habitat for Humanity knew that Cavalier Crossing was on the for sale block. Because the owners of Cav Crossing were knocking on the door of every multifamily potential buyer in town. And we have to ask these two men, leaders of affordable housing creation and multifamily development in the greater Charlottesville area, if they knew of the $20,500,000 opportunity of 520 units Cavalier Crossing in the urban ring, right across from their trophy development, Southwood. And if they knew and instead went with $7 million for a trailer park, 64 dilapidated trailers falling apart, crumbling like aged blue cheese, and went with that instead of, I didn't say Gouda, instead of Cavalier Crossing, then that was a mistake, Judah.
Did they think it would be more difficult to drum up 3 times the money?
Potentially. But if the city's just giving away loans, no problem. Why couldn't they team a city loan with a county loan? If you got $14 million down, you're going to find someone to finance $6,500,000. Heck, if you could put, if I would even say this, Piedmont Housing and Habitat for Humanity, if they took the $7 million bridge loan down from the city and said, hey, city, these are 520 units right on the urban ring. These people work in the city. Yes, it's in the county, but this is appealing to you big time. The $7 million bridge loan from the city probably finances that deal. $4 million is 20%. 25% is what? $6 million?
5.56, yeah.
30%, $6 million? Right?
Something like that, yeah.
$6 million and change, 30%. They got 7. And the last tidbit, I was going to highlight this as well, Deep Throat. 15 acres for cab crossing. How many acres for the mobile home park?
Was it 6 something?
6 acres for the mobile home park.
Mm-hmm.
We should be asking these questions. We should be having these conversations, and we should be pushing back on people and organizations that are using taxpayer resources and grants from the Commonwealth and donations from wealthy parties and donations from corporations and donations from businesses in Central Virginia to scale their models. Kevin Higgins says the Mallside Apartments will be next.
Would that be a bad thing? That's
Oh, what were you going to say there?
it's
Judo
not very.
What were you going to say there, my friend?
I already said it.
What were you going to call the Mallside Apartments?
I was just going to say that I was not being charitable with that statement, and but we all
Doesn't have
know-
the best reputation, does it?
No, we've all heard of the problems surrounding the Mallside Apartments.
Right. Similar problems we saw around Cavalier Crossing. Jennifer Hopkins says this: where are the wealthy activists? Because we know Charlottesville is full of wealthy people putting their money out there to help keep people, working people in town. She says Charlottesville is expensive. I feel terrible for these people, but it's just our reality. It is our reality. Janice Boyce Trevelyan said, we did the tour at UVA 9 years ago, and not only were they anti-Jefferson, they were historically inaccurate with Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
I'll close with this. Taking 520 apartments that appeal to working class people and pulling them from them by not renewing their leases is completely legal.
Say that again?
It's completely legal if you give the 60 days notice time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll also close with this. Those 520 folks, many of them are going to scramble to Eagles Landing, and if they don't secure housing there, they're going to either leave the Charlottesville-Albemarle urban ring because they can't find other affordable housing, or they're going to find themselves in a homeless, houseless situation.
Yeah.
And the businesses that employ these folks, some of them are going to lose their employees, and it's going to negatively impact their business models, their hourly wage staff that is quickly dwindling or diminishing because they can't afford to live here.
No doubt.
But if you look at it from the county's perspective, the county just got a boatload of tax revenue, incremental tax revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Incremental tax revenue the county just got.
Yep.
And both Charlottesville City and Albemarle County just got a tenant base that's much more deep-pocketed and probably less reliant on tax-resourced amenities or providing stuff that's been provided by the jurisdictions like public transportation.
AMI is going up.
Serious storyline there. Last few items on today's talk show. Henley Middle School principal. You want to set the who, what, when, where, why on this one? Something smells so fishy about this story, dude.
Yeah. The Henley Middle School principal had previously been charged a couple charges. I believe one was basically child abuse. That one has been dropped. The one that's left is I believe, assault and battery charge. And yeah, there's definitely something fishy about this. I don't think
You better use the word allegedly.
I didn't accuse anyone of anything. I think the judge will probably drop this. The one charge was dropped. The other one has been postponed to a court date in October, and I don't see it going anywhere.
She was charged last month after a juvenile in her home came forward with allegations. The juvenile is saying 46-year-old LaRuth Ensley pinned him against the wall because they had a fight over an iPad. She used her left forearm to pin the juvenile against the wall while using her right hand to squeeze his testicles for 15 seconds, causing severe pain, post-traumatic stress, and now the juvenile is fearful to be in her presence. A he said, she said, with an unfortunate circumstance of the he being a child.
Yeah.
This is all allegedly. This happened in Henrico at her home. This was the middle school principal of Henley until, 5 weeks ago? About a month ago?
Yeah.
This is a mess. July 7th, she was arrested. A few days later, 3 days later, Matthew Haas, the superintendent, announced that she was on leave due to personal legal matters. I have to cover this story because we covered the story when she was arrested and relieved of her principal position at a Western Albemarle middle school called Henley. So now we have to cover the story that the abuse charge was dropped, but she still faces an assault and battery charge.
Yeah.
Does this seem to be her kin?
Her lawyer said there was no probable cause to support the felony child abuse charge. On the remaining misdemeanor assault and battery charge, no comment.
This happened in her home
Yeah.
over an iPad. Is this a family member?
That's what they've said.
What do we believe here? Or do we want to go to the jump to conclusions map? Or do we wait and see?
Let's start jumping to conclusions. It sounds like it's a.
Oh man, go ahead.
Sounds like
I wouldn't want to be wrong on this one. I'm not gonna jump to a conclusion. You can if you want.
It sounds like it's a family member who's not in the immediate family, nephew, something of that sort. Who knows? Could be the families aren't that close, or they've had issues in the past. But this sounds more like a kid wanting to get revenge than an actual serious charge. But that's for the courts to decide, and we clearly don't have all of the details here.
We don't have all the details. That's what I would have said. This is a he said, she said, with the he being a juvenile. This is a terrible story. I want to close the program as you put the other lower third on screen. We have a massive price drop for 307 Alderman Road in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood. A $110,000 price cut, Judah. This is right next to 303 Alderman Road. That's going to be 6 luxury townhomes developed by Evergreen, a local builder. This piece of property, 307 Alderman Road, the owner is a real estate agent. And he knows each day that this listing sits active is another day this listing gets closer to construction starting at his neighbor's house. It's an owner who is also a realtor, 307 Alderman Road. The longer this listing is stale, the closer his house is to a construction site. And a construction site with 6 townhomes is not going to drive value for his house.
No.
Hence the $110,000 price cut. And this is collateral damage of the new zoning ordinance. We have a face to the new zoning ordinance impacting a man's property value. Today's show, not too bad. Anything you want to close with?
No. No.
Love when he says no on the talk show. I appreciate that. I respect your position. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, the I Love Seville show, Mexicali Restaurant, and Pro Renata. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a whirl. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody. Take care.